This tutorial is to go through the same problem I just previously solved with the substitution method with the elimination method. Now, in the substitution method, I could have changed this equation here by getting rid of the denominators, but then I'll end up still having to work with some fractions in this y1. So it's up to you, but I'm just going to show how to get rid of the fractions in the elimination method. So the first thing I want to do is find the least common denominator. Since there's only one in this first one, the common denominator is 3, so I just multiply it to every single term. And to do that, I'm going to show with a set of parentheses and 3 times everything inside of it, so that is multiplied to every single term. So with 3 times y, I end up with 3y. 3 times negative 1/3, actually the 3 divided by 3, or 3 times 1 divided by 3, just ends up with 1, and 1 times x, or the negative 1 times x is just negative x, or if you want to put a 1 there, you can as well. Now I have positive 3 times a positive 6, which gives me positive 18, and now I have an equation with no fractions, and I prefer working with those. It seems to prevent some typo errors just because there's fewer numbers to be working with. Now I'm going to go to the second equation and find the least common denominator here. I have two denominators, 2 and 4, so I want the smallest number that both of them will go into, and since they both go into 4, that'll be my common denominator. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a set of parentheses so that it is multiplied to every single term with the distributive, and I'm going to show that here 4 times. So I need to make sure with the distributive I go into every single term so that this equal sign stays balanced. So on the left hand side I have 4 times 1, which is 4, divided by 2, which is 2, and that got rid of my fraction. Another way you can think about it is 4 divided by 2. I like to divide before I multiply on these. It gives you smaller numbers. Here, again, I could do 4 times the 1, which is 4 divided by 4, which is 1, or 4 divided by 4, which is 1, and 1 divided by 1 is 1. And yes, we keep the negative attached to that. And I can put a 1, or I can leave it same as before. And then don't forget, this is probably one of the biggest errors in getting rid of fractions, is making sure that you distribute to the right side of the equation as well. It is still a part of keeping the whole thing balanced. 4 times 2 is 8, and now I have these two lovely equations that don't have any fractions. Now I do need to change this one over so that all of the terms line up nicely. So I will need to, this says subtract x, so I need to add x to both sides. So I end up with a positive x, and that 3 is positive, so I'm going to keep that 3 being positive and the x is positive. That may have been too quickly for some of you. I'll show that in one more step just so that I don't lose anyone. So I'm going to add x. Now some people think x add, but that's not the case. This 3 is positive, and so if I put plus x here, and then I just rearranged them so that the x was in front so it lined up. Okay, so I'm going to add x and just make sure that the x is on this side. They are both positive. There we go. So that the terms line up. Now there's one more thing I need to do, is find the term I want to get rid of by multiplying something else. Because I already have a negative here and a positive here, that makes it really convenient. All I need is a 3. So I'm going to take this equation here and multiply the entire thing by 3. I know we're multiplying the entire thing again, but this gives us the opportunity to get rid of one of those variables for the elimination method. So I'm going to multiply 3 times the entire thing. And don't forget, we also need to multiply to the right side of the equation. That's one of those tricky things that a lot of students miss. Okay, so 3 times 2 gives me 6. 3 times negative 1, or just minus gives me a 3, and then 3 times 8 gives me 24, and then I have my first equation, my first equation multiplied by 3 and my second equation, which matches, and I can just eliminate now. And even though this seems to cause some problems, I'm still going to draw it because I think it's important to see. The negative 3 plus 3 is gone, and I'm left with 6x plus x. And I hope this works. There we go. Okay, so I get 6x plus x, which gives me 7x. The y's are gone. And on the right-hand side, I end up with 24 plus 18, which gives me 42. I have this over here in case I needed any scratch work, but 8 and 4 is 12, and then I have 1, 2, 1, which is 42. Okay, so then I need to divide both of these by 7 to get x all by itself. And then on, and we can even do that if we want, so that we can see it like this. 7 divided by 7 is gone, or there we go. 7 divided by 7 just leaves me with x. 42 divided by 7 is 6. And there we go. So that's our first answer. We need to, I'm going to highlight this just so we don't lose it with everything. And now I just need to pick one of the equations before. And since this one only has y by itself, it has a negative sign, I'm going to choose that one because it has less work, I think, involved. If I wanted to choose this one, it will give me the exact same answer because it's a system of equations and we're looking for where they both cross, and so it doesn't matter. Here, I'm going to replace the x with parentheses so that I make sure everything goes inside. In this case, it's just the 6. 2 times 6 is 12. So I end up with 12 minus y equals 8. And then, so I need to subtract 12 from both sides. I'm going to do it on this step. I hope it doesn't confuse anyone to subtract 12 here. Okay, so I end up with 12, subtract 12, which is 0, so I'm left with just negative y on the right. And I'm going to highlight that and paste it. There we go. So the 12s cancel out. And then, or on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have 8 minus 12, which gives me negative 4. But I haven't completely solved it yet because I need to make sure that this is positive 1. So I'm going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. Some people just say divide by a negative. It means dividing by a negative 1. A negative divided by a negative is positive. So I end up with positive y. And then on the right hand side, negative 4 divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 4. And there is our solution. We can write it as an ordered pair. Open parenthesis 6, comma 4, close parenthesis, and highlight everything as my answer just so that I know where it is. And so because I came up with a point, a solution, this is an independent system of equations, and I hope this helped you to find your way through getting rid of all of those fractions. It makes it a little easier. We probably had as many steps. You just had to do less with adding and subtracting with common denominators. I hope it helped, and good luck on your homework.